Hi everyone, and welcome back to another video. So this one's a bit of the spur of the moment kind of video where I was just daydreaming about things I would change with the fighter class. So in this video I'm just going to quickly go over 5 things I think need to be changed. These are things I think will assist the fighter class in its current state, and also the long-term kind of plan for this class. Okay, so getting right into this, let's start with number 1. Everyone knows that I play a lot of the fighter class and I do a lot of it solo, and I've always kind of said that the fighter class starter kit is very, very poor. I mean, you don't even start with boots or a helmet or anything. You start with a really crappy shield and really crappy chest piece. Even the barbarian gets decent boots and a helmet, which protects a lot from headshot damage. Other classes, like the wizard, get protection pots or a bandage. I don't even want to get started on all the stuff the ranger gets, but if you compare it to the rogue, they're both pretty bad. So my suggestion would be for the fighter class, maybe throw in a protection pot, or give them a helmet to start with. Doesn't have to be a good helmet, it can be a junk helmet. Doesn't matter, but the headshot damage reduction is huge. Or at least give them boots so I can stop slapping my feet on the cold concrete. And for the rogue, I'm just going to mention quickly, why don't they have an invisibility pot? Wouldn't that be a nice addition considering you can't purchase them at the shop? Alright, on to number 2, which is pretty much everyone's most discussed topic when it comes to the fighter class and its effectiveness of some of its perks. So everyone knows that Swift just isn't that great because you need to stack a ton of armor, making you inherently super slow to get like 5% movement speed. And then you have Defense Expert, which you have to stack a whole bunch of plate armor. You have to pretty much max out both your movement speed penalty or your armor rating to get any real benefit from these. So, to make these a little more effective early, because your other perk options are just kind of terrible, even combo attack isn't great when using sword and shield. Let's say, for example, you just applied a flat movement speed reduction to a single item. So instead of having a movement speed penalty while wearing plate helmet, you didn't have any. So for example, a kettle helmet, instead of applying a -8 movement speed penalty, if you're using the Swift perk, it would be 0 movement speed penalty, giving you 8 to 10 movement speed. Now it seems pretty strong, but essentially this class needs something to change early on. And for Defense Expert, my change would be similar, but make it so it's a flat armor rating if you're wearing, let's say, 4 pieces of plate armor. So if you're wearing 4 pieces of plate, you get a 20 armor rating increase, which kind of takes away all the nonsense of stacking a full layer of plate armor and really relying on high armor ratings to get any bonus at all. You'll get a little bit of a bonus just by wearing 4 pieces of plate armor, which is something you can kind of do when you're first playing or first starting out with the fighter class. I know the problem with the fighter class, and I think the problem in general, is the fact that they have the sprint ability, and balancing around the sprint ability is incredibly difficult because it's just so effective. If I go my dual wield build, even with the current setup, I'm not getting any bonuses from really Swift at all. I'm still super fast using sprint. So I think the problem is with the fighter class, they have a hard time balancing because a fully geared, fully plated fighter, when they press the sprint ability, is still really strong, even with these perks not being that effective. So yeah, but essentially I think something needs to be done with those 2 perks, because right now your options from the first, 15 levels are just really limited and just not great. There's never really a good 4th pick for perks on the fighter class. Alright, number 3 is me being a little bit selfish and asking for them to kind of tweak or change Adrenaline Rush. I love Adrenaline Rush because of its burst damage, but quite frankly no one uses it, simply because it's a single use, you blow your load and you're done. That's it. So the changes I would make is either reduce the penalty and reduce its effectiveness, and give you like maybe 2 uses or 3 uses. So instead of 25% attack speed, let's say you get 18 or 20, and then the penalty is a little bit less also. Or make it a perk you can use off cooldown and only give it basically a 10% attack speed with next to no penalty. I do like it a little more because they've added dual wield having now 15% attack speed instead of, I think before it was like 7. So it is getting a little better, but no one's using it over second wind, I don't think. I've had a hard time finding any videos or anyone else attempt the stuff I'm doing with it, so I do think it needs some help, and I think most fighter players would agree that it's a cool skill, just not quite where it needs to be. Alrighty, so number 4. Probably the one most people are going to disagree with me with, but I really don't like the fact that so many fighters can run longbow or recurve bow and be almost as effective as a ranger. I think the ranger class has its own really crazy sets of strengths, but personally, when I think of a fighter class, I think you should be trying to outplay a ranger, not basically just becoming one yourself. What I mean by that is, if you go into high roller and you don't take a longbow or recurve or whatever with you, you're basically setting yourself up for failure. So I would like to see some way in the future where the fighter class can stand alone without just always needing a longbow. It just feels like in order to play a fighter class effectively right now, you're basically playing a tanky ranger. So I don't know how any way of changing that. I know before it was weapon mastery was -20 penalty for weapons that weren't in the fighter class unique list, but they've since changed that to allow more options, and it's basically meant longbows are even more effective. So they have a crossbow, you know, like fighter class has an option for range damage that almost no one's really using because they can just take longbow. And at least with crossbow, the projectile speed isn't great, and the reload speed makes it somewhat hard to use. But if you run recurve or longbow, you can just spam arrows right alongside your ranger buddies and pin a team down, as well as being super resistant to all projectiles. Just feels a little weird to me. It may not even necessarily be a fighter problem, but just a simple fact that rangers are everywhere. So, yeah. Alright, so number 5. And this one's just purely for fun. I don't think you'd make any huge changes to the game, but I want Rapier to be added to the weapon list for fighter. Simply because I'm selfish and I like Adrenaline Rush. And Rapier with Adrenaline Rush, I did try it, but because you get the attack damage nerf from it not being a weapon the fighter class can use, it's really not effective because, like, I was using a white one here, and I think I was hitting for like 17 or 18 damage to the head, which is pretty poor. But if they made it a weapon for the fighter class, I'm just picturing these dual wield builds that I always like to run with, you know, super fast, super speedy, run around with a Rapier, using Adrenaline Rush, and just slicing and dicing. Sounds super entertaining and super fun. I don't think it's going to happen, but maybe it will. So, once again, thank you all. I appreciate your comments and likes and subscribes. I am working on some normal routine videos of some really, really awesome dungeon runs with Longsword. I have a few with Falchion. I think I even have one with the Arming Sword. So look for those. I'm going to try to space everything out kind of nicely, but honestly, I'm just enjoying making videos right now, so I have the time to make them, and people that are watching them, I'm just going to keep posting what I can until the game comes out. So thank you. I appreciate it. Let me know what you think of my 5 things I would change. Cheers.